An Atlanta off-duty cop shoots a black man 17 times in the back. We have new details. Here it is. All right. So an off-duty cop in Atlanta shot Linton Blackwell 17 times in the back. The 44-year-old is pictured here with the family on the right and Mayor Andre Dickens as well, Mayor of Atlanta. The father, business owner and rapper who was known as B. Green, was killed outside of a bar by police officer Gerald Walker. A friend of Blackwell, who was with him that night, has made statements to local media contradicting the official police narrative. And Blackwell's family has already retained an attorney. Quote, "How do you justify shooting him 17 times in the back?" said Jimmy Hill, whose own son, Jimmy Atchison, was killed by Atlanta police in 2019. And I'm good friends with Mr. Atchison. Atlanta Black Star reports that the official police narrative claims that Atlanta police officer Gerald Walker was working off duty. He was a security official near the 5 Paces Inn. That's in Atlanta's Buckhead area. This happened October 11th. This is when he received a call from the 5 Paces asking for help dealing with an argument outside of the bar between Mr. Blackwell and another person. When Walker arrived to the bar, Blackwell walked away from him and retrieved an item from his car, putting that item in his waistband while ignoring commands from the off-duty officer regarding a gun, according to a press release from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the state law enforcement agency investigating the shooting. This was when Walker opened fire, according to Blackwell, shooting Blackwell 17 times. Shot him 17 times in the back and the buttocks, according to the autopsy conducted by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. So the GBI police narrative also states, quote, "A gun was recovered on the scene," but does not say whether that gun was the item that Blackwell retrieved from his car or if it even belonged to him. However, the initial report from Atlanta police stated the preliminary investigation indicates that the suspect was in possession of a firearm, but that was before the GBI took over the investigation. But Hill is skeptical because police released Blackwell's car to family members 2 hours after the shooting instead of impounding it as evidence, as they usually do when they believe the car was used in the commission of a crime, especially anything to do with guns, to allow them to thoroughly search the car for evidence. Quote, "Why didn't they take his car as evidence?" End quote. He asks, "They released the car 2 hours later to one of my cousins, the same car they say he got whatever it was he got out of it. You know the cover-up is real," Hill said. So I'm going to get into the witness account that contradicts. But so far, you definitely have an issue with the chain of evidence. Because if there's a claim that something was found and there's no investigation into the vehicle, which is common practice for APD and frankly any other jurisdiction that has an investigative unit, they're going to impound the car. And they're going to investigate to make sure there's nothing else in that car that can be utilized for whatever investigation they're attempting to land. So the shooting was witnessed by Blackwell's friend, William Stanley, who was with him that night, telling local media that the cop had been working security at the bar, which contradicts the police narrative, saying he had been working at another location when he was called over to deal with Blackwell. Stanley told Atlanta Capital B that the cop, Walker, frisked both of them as they entered the bar, telling Blackwell something along the lines of, quote, "We're going to be good tonight. We're straight tonight," indicating that they may have had prior interactions. Blackwell responded by saying, "We good, man," Stanley said. He said they separated after entering the bar, and it was not long before Blackwell was arguing with a white patron for reasons unknown to him, and said he and Walker both got involved to break up the altercation. When the altercation went down, I went over there to break it up, and the officer was right there with me breaking it up, he told Atlanta Capital B. Stanley said he waited a few seconds before following him outside to the area where they had parked, and the cop had already started shooting him. Quote, He looked like he was trying to head back into the establishment, but the dude was already shooting him. He had already shot him over 5 or 6 times at that point, Stanley told Atlanta Capital B. Hill said there are several surveillance cameras in the area that should have recorded the shooting, but no mention has been made by the police about any available video or whether the cop was wearing a body camera. But Walker, who began working for the Atlanta Police Department in 2023, has already had 7 policy violations, including 6 having to do with standard operating procedures regarding body cameras, according to Atlanta Capital B, which obtained his personnel file. 6 of those 7 violations were actually sustained by Atlanta PD, meaning they found it was accurate. Blackwell was a well-respected father of twin girls and had several brothers and sisters. Hill said he also operated a business where he would drive people from upscale hotels to the airport in a black SUV, even mingled with Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens on at least one occasion. Hill said the family organized a balloon release in his honor at a local park about a week after the shooting, and more than 1,500 people showed up to pay their respects. Well-respected individual, person who is well acquainted with Atlanta. Atlanta's well acquainted with him. According to the eyewitnesses, it did not go down as the officer said, but the autopsy even says that by stating he was shot in the back and the buttocks. Well, where's your butt? Or asked in the back too. So it doesn't seem to be any conflict between the evidence from the forensics and the eyewitness that this man was being shot in the back. That's where you start. All right, Senator, thoughts here.
Yeah, Doc. I mean, this makes absolutely no sense. It's more than unfortunate. And it seems by the reports on this officer's record, even if we set aside with his altercation with Blackwell, that Walker is not necessarily fit to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And why these departments continue to let people like him and others year after year continue to stay on the force. Once you get these level of reports, something else should kick in, Doc, on the administrative side. The anxiety, the stressors, am I still psychologically able to do this type of work? And it's not a punishment for police officers. It's a very hard job.
Yep.
But shooting somebody in the back in that way, like you said, the forensics are clear. Now, they might uncover some other stuff, but the forensics are clear. The bigger issue is that how do police departments protect the public and the officers from psychological trauma? And I'm not saying this officer had it, but given his record heretofore, maybe they should have counseled him to another job.
Yeah, and that's why I've advocated for psychological evals every 6 months to a year.
That's
because
right.
you want to check things, right? The same cop that you hire on day 1 may not be the same police officer day 365.
That's
and
right.
it does them a disservice when you don't want to you don't want to look because you don't want to do something. All right, we'll bring updates as they come.